What's going on, everyone? So we got some news in regards to the Lakers yesterday and potentially trying to acquire several of the Bulls players. Obviously, if Zach Lavine ends up getting traded, that's the signal that it's a fire sale. And Demar Derozan, Alex Caruso, Andre Drummond, Vucevic, all those guys are all going to be traded. Whoever they can unload and kind of hit the reset button, they will unload and hit that reset button. And of course, the Lakers, they want Zach Lavine. The interest in Zach Lavine is very real, according to Jovan Buha. And then they are also expected to show interest in Demar Derozan and Alex Caruso. Nothing really new. He goes on to detail that the most likely framework of a Lavine deal would center around D'Angelo Russell, who waived his implied no-trade clause over the offseason. It's also needed to feature Hachimura or Vincent as additional matching salaries, other player, and either the team's 2029 or 2030 first-round pick, potentially with protections. That obviously would go into who do they get. Now, kind of wanted to break down each of these three. So, generally, between Lavine and DeMar, they both offer very similar things. The one thing that Zach Lavine offers more than DeMar are the athleticism as well as the just speed and rim pressure. He also is the better of the three. Better of the two and three three-point shooters, right? Zach Lavine is around a 37-38% three-point shooter. He hasn't been this year. We'll touch on that here in a moment. But DeMar DeRozan also does provide a lot of the same stuff that Lavine provides in ways such as the consistency in scoring, his efficiency in the mid-range and two-point, just being able to get to the basket, generate his own offense. DeMar DeRozan is better at making plays, too. He's a little more creative. He even ran point at times for, like, San Antonio. He's done it for Chicago as, like, the initiator of the offense. Did it even in Toronto at times. And both guys provide just that over-the-top shooting that the Lakers really need. Alex Caruso, he's not going to give you much as far as like the offense goes. I mean, he can still provide. He can still give you something, right? He can still give you, 8 to 10 points on any given night, but he's not a guy that's going to light up the stat sheet, right? He is actually having a good offensive year this year. He right now is averaging about 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists on 60.8% shooting from the field, that would be very helpful. But again, Lakers would be acquiring Caruso more so for just the defense and his size and him being kind of another point of attack that the Lakers could really use a defender out on the perimeter, right? That's basically what he would bring to the Lakers. That's why the Lakers want to try to get an Alex Caruso and a DeMar, or an Alex Caruso and a Zach Lavine. But Alex Caruso, just diving into his stats real quick. Again, he's shooting 60.8% from the field. He is shooting a whopping 44.8% from three this year, which is fantastic on only 3 attempts, but still, that's really good. And then he's shooting 81.8% from two-point range. Again, only on 2.2 attempts per game. So not like a huge sample size, but he has been incredibly efficient shooting the basketball. If he could translate that to the Lakers, then that would just be beautiful, because not only would he provide just excellent defense, but he'd also give you just really good production offensively. But the thing about DeMar DeRozan and Zach Lavine, I kind of want to focus more on them. Either of them would be extremely welcomed to the Lakers, right? Two guys that could really round out this roster and fix a lot of the Lakers' holes, a lot of the Lakers' flaws. Don't fix everything, but they do fix a lot. And the problem lies in Zach Lavine and his contract, as well as just him not being a free agent next year, right? Like DeMar is. Obviously, there's concerns both ways as far as just like the players themselves. Zach Lavine has had a bit of an injury history the last handful of years, although the last 2 years, he gave you over 65 games, and then he gave you 77 games last season. If he can do that, then that would be great. But you look at like the 10 previous years, and it's rough, right? If he can stay more on the healthier side, which may be a possibility being on the Lakers and him being able to not have to carry so much of a burden, so much of a load for a team like he had to do in like a Minnesota and now Chicago, right? Here with the Lakers, he'd be able to really just kind of focus on what he's best at and conserve himself in several ways. But his salary, I mean, he's on the second year of a max contract and he's making $40 million a year. He is literally making as much as Caruso and DeMar. I mean, literally, you could trade, look at it like this. You could trade for Caruso and DeMar, or you could trade for Zach LaVine. Who would you rather have? Caruso and DeMar, or would you rather have Zach LaVine? Personally, I'd rather have Caruso and DeMar because I think DeMar does a lot of the same stuff. To me, and again, I could be completely wrong. I don't know this for a fact, but my guess is Zach LaVine is a pipe dream. I think that there are far too many teams that are interested in LaVine. Obviously, if we can get him, if we can get DeMar, if we can get Alex Caruso, or we can get a combination, I'm all for it. But Zach LaVine is very likely we're going to get outbid for him. I mean, there's teams like the Sixers and the Knicks that they just have far more assets than we have. To me, it would just kind of boil down to how much do they value our guys? Like, how much do they value Rui Hachimura? Do they look at Rui Hachimura and go, man, look at what he's doing in a limited role with the Lakers. Imagine what he could do if he was more of a focal point, right? If we actually utilized him better. He's still young enough to where he has some upside. D'Lo, he's been great, can go and give you some scoring, give you some playmaking that would kind of give us the point guard we need. Now we have him. Maybe we could get like a Max Christie or something. So now you got something like a 4 out of your 5 of like, say, D'Lo, Christie, Williams, Rui, and then you maybe use Vu or DeMar or whatever, Caruso to go get that like young center and hit up Detroit, right? Detroit's got a bunch of them. And now maybe you can kind of expedite that rebuild a little bit, also get some draft picks, right? Chicago's going to be in good shape. But also Zach LaVine cannot dictate where he goes like DeMar can, right? Zach LaVine tomorrow could come out and say, I only want to play for the Lakers. I mean, he was even wearing an LA cap. He was wearing a Laker, not a Laker cap, but a LA cap in an interview after the game, right? I mean, it reminds me of when like Kyrie was wearing like Lakers shirts and stuff like that during interviews. He had like some interview at his like house or whatever for like some like website or whatever. And he's like literally in a Lakers shirt in the middle of like all of the trade speculation and stuff. I always thought that was funny. And of course that sparked Zach LaVine to the Lakers rumors. But in reality, like we saw with like Damian Lillard is a great example. Miami. I'm only going to play for Miami. Milwaukee said, hey, what, are you just going to sit out? You're not going to make money. You're just not going to play basketball. We're going to trade for you and you're going to play for us. And teams could do that with LaVine. Can't do that with DeMar. I mean, they can, but then they run the risk of him leaving. So, like, if DeMar Derozan wants to go to the Lakers, which we know he does, we know that he wants to play for the Lakers, we know he thought he was going to be a Laker. So, if he kind of makes it known, like, hey, I want to play for the Lakers, that's going to really kind of have teams back off and just say, okay, let the Lakers go get DeMar, because they're not going to want to trade the assets and salary to go get a DeMar Derozan, and then he just leaves you, and now you're out whatever you ended up giving up, whatever you ended up trading. So you let him go to Lakers, he can do that. And like concerns with DeMar is just his age, right? He's like Zach LaVine's 28, where DeMar is 34. So, but DeMar has been very reliable. He's been very dependable. He's given you basically 70 games a season. And that is even through the years that he's had thus far. Right, and he'd be more than happy to sign a new contract for the Lakers. He's a guy that'd be incredibly efficient, gives you a lot of what you need for the Lakers. Like you look at the last few years, and it's like gave you 74 games last year, 76 games the year before that, 61, which his last year was San Antonio, which bit of an anomaly for him. Because again, if you look at all the other years before that, 68, 77, 80, 74, 78, 60, again, another outlier, 79, 82, right? Another 82 game season. So this guy has been a model of health and just dependability, which you need given LeBron and AD, right? So if you can go and get a Demar Derozan, you could also theoretically get an Alex Caruso, maybe an Andre Drummond is somebody else I've thrown out there. I just think that would be the better approach, right? Like, and I mean, and in reality, like you could even do something like you could even get like DeMar and Vu for not much more than trading for Zach Lavine even. So like even if you wanted to go the center route, right? So it's just it's one of those things where I don't see the I don't think the Lakers are going to be in the position to give up the assets in a potential bidding war for Lavine. There's just too many teams that have just far more than we have and just young talent as well as just draft picks. I mean, especially like the Knicks. The Knicks have a treasure trove of stuff that we just can't compete with. So, and they could outbid us and still have a treasure chest full of stuff. So, but anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Like, who would you rather have? And look, in all honesty, again, like I mentioned earlier, I'd rather have Alex Caruso and DeMar Derozan than Zach Lavine. Like, if it was Caruso and DeMar or Zach Lavine, I'm going with Caruso and DeMar. But do you feel the same way? Do you think no? Zach Lavine's just too dynamic. You got to go get him. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below.